Hello everyone. Today I am Rishabh Bhardwaj, Assistant Professor in St. Andrews Institute of Technology and Management, taking the lecture of automobile and lecture this is our lecture 15 for the topic steering system. Today in this lecture we will learn about the various types of linkages used in the steering system, what are the mechanism of steering system, and finally we will discuss about the types of steering system used in the different automobiles, and we will discuss about gearing system in steering system. Let's initially start with a steering system. What is steering system? Steering is the term applied to a collection of components, linkages, etc., which will allow a vehicle to follow the desired direction. An automobile is steered with the help of steering gears and linkages, which transfer the motion of hand operated steering wheel to the pivoted front wheel hub via steering column. The other part that are used for steering a vehicle are steering wheel, pads, steering shaft, steering box, steering arms, and steering stabilizer. These parts are made of durable material like stainless steel, iron, aluminium, copper, magnesium, titanium, platinum, rubber, and plastic. As we know, the steering system is the main and very crucial component of the automobile, as if the steering system is unable to work or its mechanism fails, the complete distortion or damage could be occur, or any accident can be occur while driving, as this system or these parts of component are considered in A categories, which are very crucial and essential for the automobile vehicles. Let's discuss about the need of steering system. It should be multiply the multiple turning applied on the steering wheels by the drivers, as it reduces the efforts applied by the driver to turn a automobile vehicle. Certain extent reversible efforts also be reduced by the steering system, which will occur on the driver side. In other words, we can say the shock of the road surface encountered by the wheel should not be transferred to the driver's hand. The mechanism should have self-righted effect. That is, when the driver releases the steering wheels after negotiating the turn, the wheel should try to achieve straight ahead position. In this case, through the steering system, the car will move on the straight direction by itself. Let's discuss about the functioning of the steering system. As a steering system, having control on front wheels or sometimes in rear wheel direction, but mostly it is generally seen in the front wheels. It transmits road feels to the driver's hand. It maintains the correct amount of effort needed to turn the wheels. It absorbs most of the shocks going to the steering wheels as the tire hit the holes and bumps in the road. And it allow for suspension action also. Now we have the layout of steering wheel or steering system. Typically, a steering system consists of several components, and some of the components are steering wheel, steering shaft, steering gearbox, pitman arm, drag link, steering knuckle, tie rod and track rod arm. By the help of these components, we are able to assemble complete steering system and we can drive easily and in a smoother way. As you can see in this figure, we have steering arm, drag link, pitman arc, gearbox of the steering, then we have a tie rods. These are the complete or essential components of the steering wheel. Let's discuss about turning the car. When turning the car, front wheel do not point the same direction and the inside wheel turns a smaller radius, hence the inside wheel turns at stepper angle at the outer side. As while turning the car, the inside gear made a smaller radius as compared to the outer one, by which the inside wheel have to turn less or rotate lesser than the outer one. The whole motion or the distribution of the motion will transfer the complete revolution or somehow revolution to the outer wheel, by which inside wheel get low torque or less power than the other one. Then we are able to take a complete turn while we are driving in the same position. Then we have a linkage steering system. In the linkage steering system, we also known as worm gears, we have a steering wheel. Below the steering wheel, we have a recirculating ball gearing box. We have a gearbox over there that is connected to the pitman arc that transfer the motion to the other rod, that is a track rod, and that will deflect or turn the tie rods, and the tie rods are connected to the tires and it will transfer the motion or the direction to the wheels. By the help of this, we are able to take turns. This is a linkage steering system for the, or we can call it as worm wheel. Let's discuss about the components of the linkage steering system. Initially, we have discussed about steering wheel. The steering wheel is used by the drivers to rotate the steering shaft that passes through the steering column. Then we have a steering shaft. Transfer turning motion from the steering wheel to the steering gearbox. We have steering column. It supports the steering column and the steering shaft. Let's discuss about the steering gears. The steering gears is a device or converting the rotary motion to the steering wheel into a straight line motion of the linkage with a mechanical advantage. If the steering wheel is connected directly to the steering linkage, it would require a great effort to move the front wheel. Therefore, to assist the driver, a reduction system is used having a steering ratio. The most useful steering gear system are recirculation ball type steering system. Then we have rack and pinion steering system. Third one, we have a hydraulic power steering system. Initially, we will start discussing about the type of gearbox of steering system with the recirculating ball type steering gear. In this, it consists of a worm at the end of steering rod. A nut is mounted on the worm and two set of ball is grooved on the worm. In between the nut and the worm, the ball reduces the friction during the movement of the nut on the worm. The nut has a number of teeth on outside which mess with the teeth on a worm wheel sector, on which is further mounted the drop arm. When the steering wheel is turned, the ball in the worm roll in the groove and cause the nut to travel along the length of the worm. The ball or balls, which are in two sets, are recirculated through the guides. The movement of the nut causes the wheel sector to turn at each angle and actuate the link rod to the drop arm, resulting in the desired steering of the wheel. The end play of the worm can be adjusted by means of adjuster nut provided. To compensate for the wear of the teeth on the nut and worm, the two have to the bot nearer body. To achieve this, the teeth on the nut are made tapered in the plane perpendicular to the plane of figure. As you can see in the diagram, there is a pitman which transfers the motion from the steering wheels. This is the sector gear, and which will transfer to the worms, and in between we have a recirculating ball bearings by which we are able to move in a smoother way. This is the worm gear on which a worm will be moving. This is the steering shaft and the ball nut track. The ball nut track will contain the ball bearings and able to move easily. It also connects the sector gear to the worm. Linkage steering system parts steering box that changes turning motion into a straight line motion to the left or right. Steering gear system ratio ranges from 15:1 to 24:1. Steering linkage connects the steering gearbox to the steering knuckle and the wheels. Now we have a rack and pinion steering. The rack and pinion steering is quickly become the most common on steering on cars, the small trucks and the SUVs, that is the super utility vehicles. The rack and pinion gear set does two things. First, it converts the rotation motion of the steering wheel into the linear motion needed to turn the wheel. Second, it provides a gear reduction and making it easier to turn the wheel. A rack and pinion gear set is enclosed in a metal tube with each of the rack protruding from the tube. A rod called tie rod converts to each end of the rack. The pinion gear is attached to the steering shaft. When you turn the steering wheel, the gear spin moving the rack. The tie rod at each end of the rack connected to the steering arm on the spindle. Some cars have variable ratio steering which uses a rack and pinion gear set that has a different tooth pitch in the center than it has on the outside. It makes the car respond quickly when starting a turn and also reduces effort near the wheel's turning limit. You can see in the figure, this is the rack housing assembly, and second we have a basic rack and pinion components in which on the rack a pinion is rotating. The rack will at the stationary position and the pinion will transfer the motion to the rack, and with the help of linkage we will able to transfer the motion to the wheels. This is the complete assembly and the houses required in the rack and pinion components. This is the real layout of the rack and pinion steering, in which you can see the bellows which will compress or extend, and this is the rack and pinion steering gear and the outer tie rod ends which transfer the complete motion to the wheels. Rack and pinion steering having the pinion gear rotates by the steering wheel and the steering shaft. Each teeth mesh with the teeth on the rack, and the rack has long steel bar which with teeth along one section and slide sideways as the pinion gear turns. We have a different component, that is gear housing. It holds the pinion, gear and rack, and the tie rods. Tie rod connects the rack with the steering knuckles. Rack and pinion steering for the hydraulic system. The part of rack contains a piston of two fluid ports, one on the each side. The side with higher pressure pushes the piston to the opposite side while turning. Then we have a pitman arm. You can see in this figure, this is the pitman arm which transfer gearbox motion to the steering linkage. The pitman arm is splined to the gearbox. Then we have a central link or relay rod. It is a steel bar rod connected to the right and left side of the steering linkage, connected to pitman arm, tie rod ends and the ideal arm. This is our ideal arm that supports the end of center link on the passenger side of the vehicle. It is bolted to the vehicle frame. If worn, will cause excessive steering play. Then we have a tie rods. Tie rod assembly are the component having two tie rod assemblies are used to fasten the central link to the steering knuckles. Assemblies consist of inner tie rod end, outer tie rod end and toe adjustment sleeve. Be sure to check the toe setting after replacing the tie rod ends. Then we have a rack and pinion outer tie rod end is similar to the regular tie rod end, but the inner tie rod end sits inside the rack assembly. Next, we have a hydraulic power steering. Hydraulic power steering is a system is used for reducing the steering effort on vehicle by using hydraulic pressure to assist in turning the wheel. It is intended to provide for easier driving direction, control of the car while preserving feedback, stability and ambiguity of the trajectory specified. The steering booster is arranged so that there should booster fails, the steering will continue to work. The steering booster consists of some elements like steer torque detector, controlled pressure distributor case, hydraulic boost pump, tank with working liquid, then connected hoses. The working liquid, also called hydraulic fuel or fluid. It is the medium by which pressure is transmitted. Common working liquid are based on mineral oil. For pressure restriction in the pump, there is a restrictive valve which is adjusted on the different car in a range of 7 to 13 megapascal. This is the hydraulic power system diagram, in which we have a oil pump or reservoir by which we are able to get fluid. This is the relief valve, pressure hose fitting position, vane, rotor, return hose fitting and fluid reservoir. Fluid reservoir will transmit the oil or the fluid to the rotor, and rotor will provide a motion and send to the through the hosing to the mechanism. The power steering normally use an engine drive pump and a hydraulic system to assist steering action. The three major types of power steerings that we have, that is integral piston linkage system, then external power steering system. Third, we have a rack and pinion system with integral power system and external power system. Integral rack and pinion system is the most commonly used in our automobiles in our present or recent life. Power steering pump is driven by the engine to produce the hydraulic pressure for the steering system approach. The four basic pump that could be roller pump, vane pump, slipper pump and a gear pump. These are the four pumps which can be used in power steering as a power steering pump. All these pumps are used in different automobiles by which we are able to gain a high pressure fluid. Depending upon the design and the requirement, we can use the roller pump, vane pump, slipper pump and a gear pump respectively. As per the utility of the pump or output of the pump, we will install that type of pump in the automobile. that helps the steering system to provide a better result or a better driving or effortless driving for the driver. How Now we will discuss how the steering system can be diagnosed, whether they need a repairment or adjustment as it has moved or dislocate from its original and specified location. Steering wheel play. It means the steering wheel is moving and having a play. The play of the steering wheel should not be able to turn the steering wheel more than 1.5 inch, that will be 33 mm, without causing movement on the front wheel. The wheel side to side should have no play, and we have a adjustment sleeve near to the tie rods by which we between the, by which we are able to adjust. It lies between the inner tie rod and the outer tie rod, by which we are able to adjust and control the steering wheel play. Then we have a hard steering. If you feel that your steering wheel is moving hard, the problem or the root cause may be that low power steering fluid, that your fluid is get over or get finished. You have to top up or you have to replace the fluid in the system. Pump belt could be broken or slip. You can see or you can test that your pump belt is either slipping or get broken, due to which you are not able to transfer the complete power to the steering system. Steering system noise. If you feel that your system is making a noise, that could be two parts, that follows. Belt sequel is a loud screeching sound produced on the warm belt. If you heard the screaming and screeching sound in the from the engine side, it means your belt is squeal, and it will make a pinging sounds that will able to identify that your belt is not well and you have to lubricate and making a complete belt replaced. Then power steering pump noise. It is usually a loud whine that only occurs when the steering wheel is turned. It will happen when the fluid level is low or air in the system. If the steering system having air or low fuel, the pump will make some noises. That noise can be heard inside the car's cabin. So then we will able to understand that our pump is making noise, by which we have two problems: either the fluid is getting low or we have air in the system. For the low fluid level, we can top up the fluid, or in the air in the system we can remove the airs from the system and apply, and complete packing could be allowed. We have to check the fluid level while the engine is turned off, as if you are as if you are checking the fluid when the engine is turned on. You are able to see that fluid level is quite low, and when the engine is not running or turned off, the fluid level will be at a high position. This is because the fluid is utilized during the time of engine running. This is the end for the today's lecture, and I hope you will get to know about the steering linkages, various components, and how the steering mechanism works, or how can you diagnose the systems while you were making some noises or other plays in the steering system. For the today, I am signing out, and stay tuned for the next videos that will be uploaded soon.